Hello everyone! This game was played in a very strong international tournament. It was the Zurich tournament 1959, and well, 10 of the strongest grandmasters in the world were invited to play a tournament along with six local players. And this included the Swiss national champion, Mr. Dieter Keller. And this is game Mikhail versus Dieter Keller. This is round 7 of the tournament. And well, it was a very close tournament. Mikhail actually thought that this was going to be a breeze for him, as he didn't consider the tournament to be that strong, because this is 1959. Tal is in amazing shape. This is 1 year before Tal defeats Botvinnik for the world championship title, and well, Tal actually loses his game in round 1 against a Swiss player, and he draws against Fischer. I think it was in round 2. And well, then Tal gets back into shape, and then again loses against Svetozar Gligoric in round 9. And it was actually a very close battle between Tal and Gligoric all the way to the final round of the tournament. But actually, it was Mr. Dieter Keller that defeated Bobby Fischer in the final round. If Fischer won his final game, Fischer would tie with Mikhail Tal for the first place in this tournament. But as Mr. Dieter Keller defeated Bobby Fischer, Mikhail Tal got first place with 11.5 points. Svetozar Gligoric was second with 11 points, and Bobby Fischer shared third place with Paul Keres with 10.5 points. So let's see this game. It's quite an amazing game played by Mikhail Tal, and well, it's a pretty standard Tal game. Tal complicates, and then his opponent has to calculate a lot. He gets into time trouble, and then Tal prevails. So we have knight to f3 by Tal, knight to f6 by Mr. Dieter Keller, c4, we have e6, knight to c3, and d5. We have d4, so this is the Queen's Gambit declined, c6, so the semi-Slav, bishop to g5, and now d captures on c5. And we have e4, the Botvinnik variation, a very sharp line. Dieter goes for b5, and we have a4. Tal doesn't go for e5, the sharpest variation. He decides to go for a4, and we have queen to b6. So here we have bishop captures on f6, g captures on f6, and here Tal plays bishop to e2. And okay, well, it's black's move, and well, it's interesting. Black plays a6 here. But why not pawn to b4? This is a very nice, a very nice pawn push, as it will force this knight to go back. The problem is that after b4, Tal has this move a5, and after the queen moves, he has knight to a4. And well, whatever black plays here, this is better for white. For example, even if he captures the pawn, simply bishop captures on c4, and white is better here. So after bishop to e2, Dieter decided to play a6. Tal castles, and we have bishop to b7. And okay, Tal's king is safely put on g1, and Dieter's king is still on e8, so you don't have to guess twice what Tal plays here. Of course, he plays d5. He wants to open up the center and start complicating things. We have c captures on d5, e captures on d5, and now Dieter pushes b4. He wants to get rid of this knight before capturing the pawn on d5. But now Tal has the same idea as before. He plays a5, we have queen to c7, and now Tal plays d captures on e6. He sacrifices this knight on c3, and well, best move here is actually to capture the knight. So he captures b captures on c3, and Tal plays knight to d4. We have rook to g8. Now Dieter plays rook to g8, and now he's threatening rook captures on g2, or bishop captures on g2, depends on what Tal plays. Tal plays queen to a4 with check. And how does black play here? Well, obviously he can't block it with a knight. This pawn is covering d7. He can move the king, but can he play bishop to c6? This is an interesting variation. And this is a very interesting variation. If he plays bishop to c6, Tal plays e captures on f7 with check, now forking the king and the rook. So after king captures on f7, Tal has queen to c4, now with check. And well, if black doesn't want to lose the rook, he has to go king to g7. And I mean, he doesn't have to, but now Tal has knight to e6, forking the king and the queen. But after this, queen to c4, he decides to give up the rook and plays, for example, king to e8. Well, this is, well, he gets bishop to h5 with check. And what do you play here? Well, rook to g6 comes to mind. So after rook to e1 check, we have king to d8, and now simply capturing this rook with h capture. For example, this would be okay, and rook to d1, and well, this is terrible to play for black. White is completely winning here. So after this queen to a4 check by Tal, Dieter actually decided he doesn't want to give Tal any chances here, and he plays king to d8, which is actually the best move. Tal plays g3, now defending this g2 pawn, as Tal claims that he does have time for this. And we have bishop to d5. Although in this position, actually c captures on b2 would have been the best move. But you know, Tal is coming for you. You don't wanna grab another pawn. So he plays bishop to d5. Now, adding protection here and also attacking this e6 pawn. So if pawn captures on f7, even bishop captures on f7 is possible. Tal goes rook f to d1. Now lining that rook up with the king, we have king to c8, getting out of the way. And now Tal plays bishop b captures on c3. Tal knows that this c captures on b2 was a nasty move by by black, so he plays it himself, and also he opens up this this line for the rook. So we have bishop to c5, now attacking the knight, and well, what do you play here as white? I mean, there are a lot of options here. The engine move is bishop captures on c4 here, grabbing a pawn. But you know, Tal always has a Tal move somewhere ready. So in this position, Tal played e7, and it's very interesting. What's the idea behind this e7 move? Well, okay, obviously the idea is e8 queen. So we have knight to c6. This knight now blocks this queen's coverage of the e8 square. And here Tal plays bishop to g4 check. And what's the idea? Well, of course, the bishop cannot be captured, as now pawn to e8 queen is possible. So after bishop to g4 check, we have king to b7. And now a move that comes to mind is definitely rook 8 to b1 check, but Tal has an even better idea. Tal plays knight to b5, now with an attack on the queen. And, well, can the knight be captured? Let's check. If a captures on b5, we have queen captures on b5 with check. And this comes with an attack on this bishop here. So this bishop should probably block. Bishop to b6 maybe. And now rook captures on d5. And, well, white is destroying black here. This is completely winning. Black is losing another piece. This rook to d7 idea is here. Black can't defend this. So after knight to b5, Dieter decided to go for queen to e5. And, well, what does Tal play here? Here Tal plays rook to e1, attacking the queen. We have bishop to e4, now blocking, and now Tal gets the other rook into the game, because now this bishop covering b1 isn't really important, since the bishop cannot capture the rook, as rook captures queen. And we have rook captures on g4 here by Keller, as now Keller claims that this bishop can indeed be captured. But Tal plays rook captures on e4. And, well, this is a very critical moment of the game. Keller has to decide whether to capture the rook or with the queen. Interestingly, Keller decided to play queen captures on e4, and this allows knight to d6, forking the king and the queen. But it's a very, very interesting line if rook captures on e4. If rook captures on e4, you get knight to d4 check. And, well, if you capture the knight, for example, I mean, you can't capture the knight now because it's check from the rook. But you do have to cover up. So after a move like knight to b4, because queen captures on c6 was a threat, you get rook captures on b4, bishop captures on b4, and queen to d7 with check. For example, queen to c7, and now you get queen to d5 with check. king to b8, and now you grab this rook on e4. And well, this is the problem. This bishop is still attacked here on b4, and also Tal is threatening e8 with queen. So only move is probably bishop captures here on e7, and now knight to c6 with check. King to c8, knight captures on e7 with check, king goes back, knight to c6 with check, king to b7, and knight to b4 with check. King to b8 and queen to d5. And well, although black is up the exchange, black doesn't really have a move here. This would be this would be winning for white, especially in time trouble. Because if black ever plays rook to a7, simply knight to c6 wins a rook, and well, white's pawn structure is somewhat better. White is better here. So, but although this was a very long line to calculate, and Keller probably didn't manage this due to time trouble. So after this rook captures on e4, Keller played queen captures on e4, allowing knight to d6 with check. We have knight to d6 check, king to c7, and now knight grabs queen on e4. Rook captures knight, and now queen to d1. And well, this is probably this is the last moment that Keller could have played for a draw or even for a better game. The point is, this pawn on e7 has to be captured either by rook captures or by bishop captures. Why Keller didn't play this, I really have no idea. Simply rook captures on e7 seems perfectly fine, and even after a move like queen to d5, this does attack the bishop, and also I don't know, bishop to a7, and what does white play here? This seems completely okay. Okay, queen captures on c4 maybe, but it seems like black can hold this. White is better, but it's not clear. But after this queen to d1 move, Keller played a rook to e5. I have no idea why he played rook to e5, maybe to prevent queen d5 for some reason. But here Tal gets the killing move. He has rook to b7 with check. And well, what are you going to play here? You really have no other choice than to capture the rook. So king captures rook on b7. And well, if you look at this, Keller has 4 pieces for the queen, but this is very temporary. Queen to d7 with check, and the king has only 1 square to go to. King to b8. We have e8 queen, rook captures queen, queen captures rook on e8 with check, and well, the king has to go to b7 because this knight is attacked, so only king to b7 guards both the rook and the knight. Queen to d7 check, we have king to b8, and now queen captures on c6, and in this position Mr. Dieter Keller resigned the game, as now only rook and bishop cannot counter the queen. So yeah, a very interesting game by Mikhail Tal, and well, he did defeat the Swiss national champion, who was actually responsible for Mikhail Tal winning first place, as he took one whole point from Bobby Fischer. So yeah, definitely a nice game, and definitely another victim of Tal's trickery. So yeah, I would like to thank David Hammond, Mr. Knott, and Avi K for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I appreciate it. And yeah, as usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching. I will see you soon.